Marge, I'm confused. Is this a happy ending or a sad ending?
It's an ending. That's enough.
What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC reality chick, and you don't see my pretty sexy face, so you know I'm not alone. Ended off the year with a bit of NXT, started off the year with a bit of NXT. Jake DeMarco, what's going on, buddy?
What's going on? We got to start it with NXT to start things right. 2021, we're in the house talking New Year's Evil coming up in just a short 2 days' time.
I mean, we're recording this instead of watching Raw. Let's put our cards on the table like we always do.
It's Legends Night.
It's Legends Night, and somewhere in the middle,
right.
somewhere in the middle, we're gonna find out if Alexa Bliss got set on fire.
They have Miz and Morrison out there yelling like idiots. I don't think we're missing anything. So instead, we're talking about a pretty stacked card. We have 5 matches already announced. We have some returns coming back. Yep. We've got some Dusty Classic possible announcements to come too that night. So, what will they do? And it sounds to me like a pretty damn fantastic show to kick off NXT in the new year. I'm excited. I know you are as well, obviously.
I am, and like I started last year, what I said on this channel for sort of these elevated NXT episodes, I'm going to do a preview here with Guapo, much like we do with the Takeover. Or, you're not Guapo, you're Jake. It's tired in here. We're going to be doing a preview for the show because I'm not going to review it. I'm going to sit back and treat it like it's a pay-per-view on a Wednesday. Another tradition that you and I always have is before we talk about the show, let's talk about what's not announced for the show. What will The Way do? What will Johnny Gargano and his troupe do? He ended off the year breaking the losing streak against Leon Ruff, defending the North American Championship. And...
Don't you mean Leo Rush? No? All right, just checking. No, honestly, I'm happy that the streak is no more. That's done and over with. Okay, great. And the way The Way have been doing their things their way has been excellent. It's been one of the highlights of NXT, surely. And I actually heard from 2 separate people saying today, wouldn't it be great to see Alexa Bliss and The Fiend versus Johnny and his wife, Candice, at Mania? You know, The Fiend versus The Way. And I'm like, believe it or not, The Way, and they both got there different ways, drastically different ways, which was really impressive to see how one idea could be so twisted. But
and
just the premise and the idea was like, wow, I know we'll never see it, but that's something I'd love to see. But with The Way, they've had such a dynamic character shift recently, with both of them going heel and then adopting new members. They're kind of cult-like, but they're not as drastic. You know, they're not like a Wyatt family or a Dark Order, but you can tell that they're brainwashing a bit and kind of, gaslighting their followers. So it's intriguing and it's interesting, and there's a lot they can do with it story-wise.
It's a new spin on a faction, and I know we did this a lot in our year-end pod last time we spoke. It's a different dynamic for a faction to have it headed up by a couple, first of all, to have it that each one of them has sort of a protege, and to have
husband and wife.
Yeah, and to have a faction that's made up of equal members, male and female. It's a completely different dynamic. You have to be really careful how you're gonna like set them up in matches, because you're not gonna go like you say the Fiend and Alexa Bliss. I hadn't heard that personally. Funny to think that not too long ago the pitch was Karrion Kross and Scarlett, which would also be awesome.
Yes, that would also work well, but
do we want to
both ideas could be great.
But do we want to see? I mean, I want to see, because of the makeup of this particular faction and how it's sort of unique, I would love to see, I mean, I've been saying forever, bring the women's tag team titles to NXT. Wouldn't it be cool for a faction to have both tag team belts?
Yeah, that could be great. So Candice is now the women's tag team holder with, indie wrestling.
I love the indie wrestling thing.
Yeah, so do I. And then you have, obviously, Theory and Gargano go ahead and take the tag titles.
And, I mean, you saw the match they had a couple of weeks ago, for their very first match, like, as a quote-unquote tag team. Theory and Gargano
they worked extremely well together.
I wouldn't be surprised if Gargano was working with Theory, like, in real life, like, behind the scenes, in some kind of, like, mentor-type capacity. It's really, I mean, we're going to talk about something else in a second where I think they could slot in quite nicely, but it's so intriguing, and it's such a different take on a faction. You know they're going to do something. It's going like they did the Very Gargano Christmas, which was awesome,
Which
and
was
where
hilarious. That was a lot
Austin
of fun.
Theory got his jar of literal Gargano whey.
Yes.
And
The whey powder protein.
Candace got the tire, and it was just fucking great. But you know, because they did the Very Gargano Christmas, they're gonna have some kind of Gargano New Year.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
It is sort of the one hangback of trying to predict one of these shows, because it's not fully like a pay-per-view. Like, there are going to be some elements of this that are just going to be weekly progression of stuff. There is going to be stuff that we don't know that's coming on this show.
Which I like. That's one of my things that I enjoy, because a pay-per-view, you're like, all right, I know every match we're getting, and there's not going to be really any deviation. Maybe there'll be a backstage segment with an interview, but even that is not always guaranteed. This show, I think that the Way will be the host. That's my predictions. That was your original question. I went off on one hell of a tangent about Mania and elsewhere.
Actually, well, no, they won't be the hosts, because one thing I didn't put in our respective notes here is the host of this thing is Dexter Lumis.
Yeah, Dexter Lumis isn't speaking, though, so that's why I laugh about all that. I think they're going to be like the unofficial hosts. We're going to see them more than we see Dexter.
Wouldn't it be funny if they went to the podium, like, you know, when Shotzi Blackheart obviously hosted Halloween Havoc, and she had her big podium up there. Wouldn't it be funny if he was like, and we're going to throw to our host, Dexter Lumis, and he just stands there staring for no reason?
That's what I want. I hope they don't make him speak. Just let him stand there completely mute, like a stone, like a total statue, and then the Garganos can come out and actually be the hosts, but he just stands there staring them down.
I would love something even better.
Turn that into a little mini feud with him stalking the Garganos, and, you could do a lot with it.
I got something you can do even as a one-night story, though, is if they set him up, oh my god, it's such an exciting night, welcome to the show, we're going to throw to Dexter Lumis, our host, he stares for a couple seconds, he gets taken out by Gargano in Theory, and they take, how he's been doing, like, drawings on the digital board, and they've been actually, like, he's obviously not doing them, but, like, they've been pretty cool, like, caricature-type things, and for the rest of the night, you have the Way up on the podium, they're just drawing, like, stick figures. Like, of the winners and losers, and they have to draw arrows to say who is who because they're stick figures.
That's funny. See, this kind of stuff they could really do well.
One thing I will say, as far as just like episodic getting us week to week, they have to follow up on the return of Mercedes Martinez attacking Io Shirai. Yeah,
because her taking out Io can't be ignored. I mean, I guess they could skip a week with it, but...
Well, they did, because she had a random match on the in-between episode, which I also didn't review, so we're going 3 weeks without a proper NXT review.
Yeah, but at least they went ahead and... I mean, they didn't explain justification, but she still had a match, so...
Yeah, I mean, but I don't...
I think this will be the week that we actually get some, because usually, I think last week was just, again, a holding pattern. They had the award show to get through, and they wanted that to be the focus, so...
I'm gonna say, out of all those awards, my girl... Breakout Star of the Year. Oh, yes.
Absolutely deserving, too.
Oh, for sure, especially towards the tail end of the year. But I think it was that kind of show where not too much was happening, so you could sell Io Shirai recovering for a week, and Mercedes Martinez just coming out there and ragdolling somebody. Like,
which I'm glad she's back, and especially the way she's back, getting her away from Retribution, thankfully, and...
I think it's funny that even though she left Retribution, she escaped that whole storyline, but she still comes out with the mask that she was wearing even before Retribution was a thing. I thought they would have, just to pull her away from it, I thought they would have taken that away from her, but it's so different from the shit on Raw, the stuff that we're avoiding right now, that to take it away from her would have been a little bit of her aura, at least in her entrance. Because her entrance is pretty simple, but it's still effective, and part of that is like the whole like shrouded in... whatever you want to call it. Yeah, there you go. I didn't want to say that. I was trying to come up with something better, but...
I know, but it is true. That's sometimes the most cliche or the best answers because it fits the most.
Yeah. The only other thing I'm going to predict that we get for this coming week is we know that we're getting the Dusty Classic is back. It was announced last week, and
we know, Undisputed Era.
Undisputed Era there. What I find interesting, though, is that the combination is the one combination that has never wrestled as a consistent tag team. do believe. Somebody will correct me down in the box below if I'm wrong, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't think Cole and Strong have really been...
Cole and... Because
it's always been Fish and Cole, or...
I mean,
Strong,
I know somebody held them with Cole.
O'Reilly and Fish has been, usually the main two, and...
Well, Fish and O'Reilly came in as the tag team, and Strong subbed in for both of them at various points. Yeah. There was the one pay-per-view where Adam Cole won the North American title, where he also had to then go and defend the tag titles, but it wasn't with Strong. So you figure, if you look at the breakdown of a team again, sort of Adam Cole is the head, Fish and O'Reilly are the tag team, and Strong is kind of the second. So you figure these are the sort of like the heads of the faction. Either this is going to keep the team together, or it's going to be the breaking point. My big thing, and I snapshotted it because I was reading something earlier, so you'll have to excuse me while I scroll through my phone for a second. What we are going to talk about later this week, hopefully if they announce the rest of the teams, is really the oddball team. Because the oddball team in the Dusty Rhodes Classic tends to win it.
Yeah, usually they're the winners. I always think back to my favorite being Finn Balor and Samoa Joe.
Well, Balor and Joe, Ricochet and Aleister Black.
Who were excellent. I mean, they were damn good, too. And then we had, obviously, the Broserweights.
Yeah. So, I'm pretty sure...
I don't think so.
No, I think that's it. I'm pretty sure that we can sort of fill in the gaps. Like, Breezango will probably be there. Grizzled Young Vets will probably be in there. Imperium will be there to lose a first-round match because that's what they do. It's sad, but it's true. Like, they're talented guys, but right now they are, like, the anti-charisma while all the other characters are being built. You're going to get Everrise in there because they're fun. You're going to get Dane and Maverick in there because they're sort of gelling as another oddball team. I kind of wish that they hadn't put Dane and Maverick together and then just pushed them together for the Mae Young Classic, or the Dusty Classic, because they could be the oddball team, but they're already a team.
Yeah, because 2016 was Austin Aries and Roderick Strong.
Yes.
I mean, you could say Ibushi and Perkins were kind of a weird team up, but most of that was Authors of Pain, TMC.
Yeah, the one-time appearance of Alex.
DIY.
Yeah, the one-time appearance of Alex Shelley, which I was dumb enough to actually get excited about, because I thought he was
right.
I thought he was hanging around. Man, I would love to see the Motor City Machine Guns just show up and like take somebody out and just like take a spot. We've got a lot of content coming up soon as to like what talents we would love to see in NXT in various forms. We're not really doing a tag team one, at least not at the moment. But I will say, Motor City Machine Guns is one of those teams you could bring over and instantly like boost
absolutely.
you. But I mean, what was it?
Right,
It was Alex Shelley and Kushida, who are apparently also a tag team.
Yep.
So that was cool, but it was only for one night, and I really wish it hadn't been. But I mean, the only other team, the team that I'm looking at, if they're not going to do an oddball team, is the team we just talked about, which is Gargano in Theory, because they could take this thing and just run with it. And can you imagine? And I'm going far afield here. Can you imagine a final between Gargano, Theory, Cole, and Strong?
That'd be huge.
That would mean this better be a year where we do the finals on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, really. I would like to think and hope so.
I mean, you want to think that Lorcan and Birch would be in it too, but being that they are the champions and sometimes the winner of the Dusty Cup gets a title shot, that might mean they're out of it initially. It's like being a champion.
The last 2 years were completely on TV, right?
Yeah. Because remember, they did it right up until Worlds Collide, and then the finals were after Worlds Collide, which we commented at the time was dumb.
And they have that Broserweight match where they came out singing about the fish and stuff, and
yeah,
okay, with the fish in the background of the Titantron.
Yeah, how much fish could Bobby Fish fry? Bobby Fish could fry fish.
Yeah.
And because it's WWE, that definitely ended up on a T-shirt. But hey, at least they don't put photos of their injuries on T-shirts like some companies do. I'm not naming any names because you're not allowed to make fun of them right now. But I'm just putting it out there. I would not ever try to benefit from somebody else's misfortune. AEW.
So this card is stacked for the show. I'm really excited to see what we get here.
The first thing that is absolutely absolutely announced for the show is not a match, but it's a return. And again, you get into the whole mixed gender thing, so I'm really interested to see where they go with it. And it's the return of Xia Li and Boa after getting the shit kicked out of them for a couple of weeks in some warehouse somewhere.
Yeah, they've been turned into elite warriors at this point, which we kind of predicted that they would be, tortured into machines.
But I'm almost wondering who they're going to attack.
I don't have an idea in mind.
There's not a whole lot
they're going at.
Unless Xia Li comes out at one point in the night and attacks somebody, and Boa's just sort of there, and he comes out and attacks somebody later in the night, and they're just kind of there. You'd have to think it would be somebody like the Garganos, or maybe even the underlings of the Garganos, if you get some sort of situation where Xia Li and Boa specifically attack indie wrestling and Austin Theory. But I mean, it's very unique because
then they would kind of be in a face position. I don't know. It kind of seems like they're going to come out as heels.
I mean, is it just going to be them though? Because you've seen the behind the scenes packages that they've done for these the past couple of weeks.
There's a bunch of people involved.
Is it just going to be them, or is it going to be the old dude that's been yelling at them, or is it going to be the chick under the cloak, which is apparently going to be somebody? Somebody said it's Miko Satomura under there.
Really?
I heard that sort of early on, and then it sort of resurfaced in the past week or so. But I'm saying if that's the case, why would you base her return on two other people returning?
Yeah, exactly.
That seems really...
That's why it's confusing.
That's really bizarre. And even still, go back to the point that you got a male-female team here, go back to the fact that there's other people that might be coming back with them. You got two people in different positions here, too, because Xia Li was pretty well known on the Raw. She wasn't going up in championship contention, but she was pretty consistent. Boa, on the other hand, this is a debut for him, pretty much.
Yeah, because he hasn't really done anything of note.
When they first signed him, they brought him out for a couple exhibition matches. Hey, look, it's Boa. And then he fucked up.
Who?
And then
Boa, Boa.
And then Xia Li has been, unfortunately, because she is great, she's sort of been the other body for other people that they've been trying to put over. Now, I'm assuming this is going to try and throw that into reverse. But you got one person that's been repackaged and one person that's basically debuting, with the bigger reveal possibly being who's behind them. So it does bring a lot of questions to mind, how are they going to do it? Who are they going to go after? Who's the focus really going to be on? Because I'm sure it's not the old dude. Are they just going to come out on the stage and dance around with sticks and hit each other?
Unless it was like a Paul Ellering was the old dude. If the old dude was somebody that was very, a legend that is truly famous and... like a Jake Roberts, someone in that role.
Yeah.
You didn't know this whole time, and
but
that's who's been training them. But
it's
random.
Just
some random guy. It's an actor, obviously, so that's not of any significant importance. And I doubt they're going to have this old guy go out there and start whooping ass. So that's not really going to be.
It doesn't. It really doesn't help that it's random kung fu cliche stereotype number 5.
Very, very stereotypical.
I know a lot of people are offended by it, but it's so over the top and cinematic. And I think I touched on this with you last year. But the fact that it's not so much a cinematic match, but it's a cinematic build to a match, which is different. So it's way it gets a similar pass to the Fiend and Alexa Bliss thing for me right now, which is an odd comparison, I know. Maybe they're going to go to Raw. Maybe they're going to supplant NXT altogether. They're going to go to Raw and attack Alexa Bliss and the Fiend. No, that's not going to happen. But it gets the same kind of pass from me because
it's not going to happen. But it's just something fun to talk about because there's so many possibilities with great stories,
And it gets a pass from me because it's so over the top that no matter how dumb it is, it's still got me curious.
Yes, it's making me go, why? What's happening next? Where are they going with this? Exactly.
Yeah. Now,
it's not something super perplexed, but it is enough to keep you wondering and guessing. One thing I am greatly looking forward to is the Fight Pit match between Ciampa and Thatcher.
Yeah.
Now, we did see Thatcher take on Riddle last time in the Fight Pit match, and I think that's the only other one we had, right?
It is the only other one we've had. I hope they don't go the guest... I didn't even put that on the notes. I'm glad you brought that up.
I didn't even realize that was there, yeah.
Oh, man.
It just happens to be one of the ones that I'm really looking forward to, because I like
the myself as well.
Style.
Because Thatcher more and more is becoming somebody I like if they put him in the right scenario.
Yes,
and if he's not, he's really not.
able to shine, but it's only in a few and far between point that you really have to get him to work.
Yeah, like him smashing heads with Tommaso Ciampa, and I mean, they started it off as more of a mixed martial arts thing, so putting Riddle in there at the time made sense. But now that you have this structure and it's kind of established and it was received so well,
very well, and it felt like a brutally strong match. And then after that, we also got the Ilya Dragunov, Walter match, and Walter damn near killed him. Now that wasn't a fight pit, but that showed like the extent of the violence they're willing to show.
Yeah.
So I think that they can really amp up this match to be something brutal.
Well, what I was going to say is you needed the right people in Thatcher and Riddle to establish what this match was. Now that the match is established, now you look at the match and you start thinking who you want to put in it. Like, if Ciampa's not at the top of your list, like...
Yeah, what are you doing? You shouldn't be...
Like, they need to do something with Ciampa, because while we know he's a badass, and while we know he'll go and kill himself in the ring, he's sort of been idling for a little bit.
He's not progressing forward. He is in a holding pattern, certainly.
He's sort of on the burner, but if he's on the burner, you gotta do something to keep him hot on the burner. And if this little side quest that he's on with Thatcher right now does that, I'm pulling farther and farther away from the idea of these guys beating the shit out of each other and then being a tag team.
Yeah,
I thought they were going to go the Sheamus Cesaro route.
I don't want to see them team up anymore, though. At one point in time, you had kind of, mulled that by me, and I'm like, I could see that. I thought about it. Or maybe you mentioned it in one of your reviews.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. Isn't it funny, too, how I listening to your show, sometimes I'm like, did we say that to each other, or did I listen to you say that?
Well, okay, my opinions don't change very much, so if you're listening to the weekly review, you'll just be like, and we got some more of this. You guys know what I think of this. Let me tell you what I think of this. This is what I still think of this. Nothing else to say, really, other than the fact that these guys are going to pound the shit out of each other.
That's why I'm looking forward to it. Either man can win. I imagine that Thatcher's going to go over here, surprisingly enough. But since he already won once, I think this will be a chance for when he does lose a fight pit match, it'll mean something.
Yeah. I do think. I hope he doesn't get.
Plus, really quick, Ciampa looks good in defeat most often. He's good about putting people over and still looking good.
I was going to say, like, not only does he keep himself looking strong in a defeat, but he's really he doesn't let a defeat go to waste. Like, if he loses, the other person looks like a fucking star. Speaking of stars, and a little side tangent from that, I hope he doesn't get involved in this match, but Tyler Rust, man, he's had, like, 3 matches, and how is he, like, becoming quickly one of my favorite people on the show?
Very exciting.
I mean, I don't know where he's from. I haven't bothered to look. Every time I've seen him so far, I'm like, I want to see this guy do more. Like, his first match was against Ciampa, and it wasn't a squash. And, like, that's a statement in and of itself.
And he's got such a unique look.
And he's got Bivens with him now. Like, we thought he was going to be sort of like a lackey to Thatcher, but it looks like they've pulled him away from that pretty quickly. Because Bivens was managing Indus Sher, but I think they got let go, didn't they?
I believe so. I mean, he was trained, Tyler Rust is Ryan Taylor. He was trained by T.J. Perkins, Cincinnati Red, Taka Michinoku.
Really?
So he's been wrestling for quite a while, I guess.
Once again, guys, this is why you get yourself
2004, I guess he started, so.
This is why you get yourself a co-host who's a walking encyclopedia, so that you can look smart on the show. No, I hadn't.
He wrestled in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, California, from 2008 to 2020. He was in the Kaientai Dojo to get trained.
Really?
He wrestled at PWG. He was in New Japan for a little bit, Ring of Honor for a short time, and now he's in WWE. So.
Oh wow! So is Tyler Rust like a new NXT name, or is that something he brought with him?
That's a new name. I believe. Under the ring name Tyler Rust is just for NXT. Because before that, it was Russ Taylor at Ring of Honor. And then before that, it was Ryan Taylor. So
it's sort of evolved into what it currently is. Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan situation.
Yeah, Rust Taylor, Ryan Taylor, and then Tyler Rust.
Holy shit. I mean, when you got a vibe that works, you keep going with it. right?
Yeah, exactly.
If they want to give him like even a quick exhibition match, so that A, we see him on the show, but B, we know it's less likely for him to get involved in the Fight Pit match, I'd be all the way okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And see, I think they only have the 5 matches booked because they're going to have some segments in between. Obviously, commercial breaks. You got 2 hours, but still,
obviously you got to fill out a weekly show, and I don't think all of these are going to go as long as we think they are.
No, they're not going to be takeover length matches, all of them. No. I think one of them will be, and that'll be the main event. But
yeah. Oh, and we'll get there when we get there. I think when we get to the main event, I think it's going to get that last half hour USA Network commercial free treatment.
I think it might as well, especially with it being a theme show. So we'll get there though. But the next is the NXT Cruiserweight Championship match.
I'm really excited about this.
I am too. Escobar against Grand Metalik.
I mean, it was spoiled for me because I didn't watch NXT until late last week. I actually ended up watching the John Huber Memorial show like while it was happening, and then I watched NXT a couple days later. So looking at what's it called, Wikipedia, to get a fight list for us to do this video, I was looking at that, and I'm like, that's got to be a mistake. Santos Escobar versus Grand Metalik, but Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado showed up last week to fight what's it called, Legado del Fantasma.
Fantasma, yeah. I always forget their name too. And the thing is with Metalik, Grand Metalik's been wrestling again as well, 2005-ish. He went under the name Mascara Dorada. You got to have that Mexican accent when you sound retarded. That's how I do it. And I got to make sure that I'm trying to like lick my eye and bite my ear. That's how I get my R's to roll. And from there we go ahead and we see that Mascara Dorada. He went ahead and he was in CMLL, of course, and but he was so very popular elsewhere. And even in New Japan for a while. So teaming with Tama Tonga, like, it's just funny how you see somebody in WWE and we're like, oh, Lucha House Party, and you don't think much of them. At least I haven't, selfishly, yeah. And it's a crap feeling because they've always booked him as this jobber role or as a comedy trio with Lucha House Party, when really this guy can go. He's one hell of a wrestler. So I am excited for this match. These two have a similar set of offense styles, but they differ enough that I think it'll be still a bit of a clash, and it'll be enjoyable.
I do too. I think it's going to be a chance for, a smaller version of the type of Finn Balor conversation we have, even the Charlotte conversation we have, where it's like, okay, they've been painted with the Raw or SmackDown brush, so they are this and that's all they do. They come to NXT and show what they can really do. I remember seeing both of these guys, both him and Lince Dorado, in the Cruiserweight Classic. Obviously he's gone from one CWC to another CWC, but seeing what they could do there and then being reduced to, like I say, sort of caricatures nowadays. I don't think he's going to win because obviously Santos Escobar and Legado del Fantasma are a pretty solid act themselves.
Yeah, and Escobar's been holding on that title for quite some time now.
I think it's got to come down between him and Devlin as soon as Devlin can get over here, so that they can have the undisputed Cruiserweight Championship. That's something for another day. But what I do hope is one of two things: either they use this to bring 2/3 of the Lucha House Party back to NXT to feud with Santos Escobar and his guys, and eventually you get Kalisto over there and have some trios matches, or you use this to bring them back to NXT and Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado are one of the teams in the Dusty Classic.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because I don't think they brought Grand Metalik in just to have Lince Dorado stand in his corner.
And do this one-off match. So that's true.
But I mean, if they can get Kalisto,
as well.
I know they separated them. I know they put Kalisto on SmackDown, and they kind of made him into a dickhead who was wearing like a luchador mask and then a fedora on top, which was weird. But
really
the rules really don't apply when people come back to NXT. I think that's sort of a thing that we've established. So if we bring those three and the three of them against Legado del Fantasma, like I say, in a couple of trios matches, would be fantastic. Even as like an exhibition at the next takeover, that's something you could build to, and then everybody can go their separate ways again. Or, I mean, if just the two of them stay, and like I say, if they're part of the Dusty Classic, I mean, even if they win one round and then put somebody over and then head back to the main roster, that's not a bad use.
Yeah, that's still better than
what they're getting.
Exactly. Just cracking open a piñata on SmackDown before.
I just don't want them to do the piñata entrance in the CWC because it just doesn't work.
It doesn't. It never worked. I'm sorry. There was even kids that rolled their eyes at it. I mean,
Yeah.
it was over with some kids, but not
Here's
as
the
much
thing.
as they want.
You hit the nail on the head, right? You know who doesn't want to see kids stuff? Kids.
Yep. If they wanted to see childish stuff, they'd go and turn on Disney or Nickelodeon. I liked wrestling because it felt like, oh, am I going to get in trouble for watching this? Like,
Yeah, I watched wrestling when I was a kid for the same reason I watched David Letterman. It's like I'm not quite supposed to be watching this, which is why it's awesome.
Exactly. That was the original allure to it. That was what drew you in. And then the divas were certainly a big help of my prepubescent years too.
You wanted to be Edge that one night.
Absolutely.
Or a couple of nights, depending on how many of the dirt sheets you were reading.
Certainly didn't want to be Matt Hardy.
But speaking of the women, and speaking of things that might scare the children, last woman standing match between Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez.
I thought these two were done facing each other, but you know what? Sign me up for one more. Hopefully this is the last, but if you're going to end it, go out with a bang on New Year's Eve, and they're going to do it with style. Last woman standing sounds like, here, take my money, I want to see this.
See,
the cage match they had was excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Their rivalry has been a lot of fun. It's been very entertaining, especially everything that happened, with the build-up and all of it, with Robert Stone. Yep. I really have enjoyed it. Now, it hasn't been Rhea's finest hour, because, again, she's another one that hasn't been elevated, especially after her WrestleMania program with Charlotte going south. But this is certainly a good way for her to build and have a big year here.
You know what I think though? We keep saying that, and we keep saying she had the thing with Charlotte, and then she had a real fall from grace because she had to do all the Robert Stone stuff. I'm starting to look at that a different way because we all knew Rhea Ripley was
I don't feel like it's a total negative on her. She looked at it as if she lost her way, but I look at it as a chance for her to show more character and connect with the fans more. No, she wasn't the champion in the front of the business as where she should have been, but it gave her a chance to show off a different side of her and wrestle some different matches.
See, and I'm even looking at it a third way is some of the stuff that she did with Robert Stone was corny as hell, right? And it's very easy for her to look like a badass when she's in the title picture and when WWE is booking her like a badass. But they pulled her through sort of a goofy storyline that probably wasn't where anybody wanted her to be, and she came out the other end of it, and
still looking like a badass.
And I still think she's a badass. So the fact that she went down and came back up and hasn't lost, to me, I know a lot of other people think differently. To me, she hasn't lost any of it. To me, she just, if anything, it looks like real life, the woman behind Rhea Ripley is pissed off that she's wasted so much time. And that only comes out stronger.
That's part of her drive. You can tell that she's so driven that she just wants to continue moving forward. That's what it comes down to.
And the funny thing is,
Ripley wins here. I don't see a way of Gonzalez winning unless they have interference happen.
The funny thing about all of this is a lot of my biases come from the Mae Young Classic and from the initial stages of NXT UK, where the rivalry, the Ciampa Gargano level rivalry over in the UK was Ripley versus Storm, right? So when Storm came over, I'm like, okay, cool, let's let Rhea Ripley reestablish herself as a badass. She can go over Raquel Gonzalez, and then we'll get to the Toni Storm feud, and we can rebuild that from scratch again. And plus the roles will be reversed, and that'll be awesome because they're both great. Toni Storm's got a great ass. Rhea Ripley's a badass. It's all work. It's Rebel Heart and Blackheart. You've got hot ass and badass. I'm a terrible person. It's fine. But they've absolutely flipped the script. They've taken how strongly I looked at that Ripley and Storm feud and used that as just a building block to get back to the Gonzalez thing. Now, I'm with you. I don't think Raquel Gonzalez wins. I don't think they have her win a feud like this while she's in the sidekick mode with Dakota Kai, unless
doesn't feel like.
Unless they're going to have her win here and use that momentum to break herself away from Dakota Kai and be like, fuck you, I don't need you anymore.
Like I said, that would only happen in my eyes if Dakota Kai or there's interference that gets involved.
Yeah.
So if Dakota Kai helps, Rhea Ripley's just about to win and she's going to throw, she's going to throw her through the stage. We get that far and then that's when she comes out, Dakota Kai hits her with a chair, and then they both throw her, through the announce table or off the stage or whatever it might be, and then we get the 10 count. I could see that, but I.
You know what the funny thing about that is, though?
Losing without interference. What's that?
is Dakota Kai comes in and tries to run interference. We've got, like, and I'm not making fun of anybody here, but, like, we've got the Battle of the Monsters, right? If little, tiny, scrappy Dakota Kai comes and sticks herself in the middle, like, realistically, what's she gonna do?
Well, that's the funny part. That's what they could use. Like, it's not enough to take out Rhea Ripley, but it's enough to make a distraction,
right?
So that Gonzalez can recover or get out of a bad situation.
It's
She's
like
about to get thrown off the stage. That's the savior. You could see Rhea get hit with an object like a kendo stick or something and just no-sell it from Dakota Kai.
I just picture Dakota Kai coming out like comically ineffective. Like the comparison I was going to make was Hurricane coming down to the Royal Rumble when the Royal Rumble was down to like The Rock and Austin.
The Rock and Austin. He tries to choke slam both of them.
And he tries to, and it's just I picture like even Raquel being her like partner, even looking at her and being like, "What the fuck are you doing?" But I do. Here's the thing, and we touched on this in the last women's breakdown, I think. I really do want to see Raquel break away from Dakota Kai because I'm really intrigued by the return of a heel Tegan Nox joining up with the heel Dakota Kai, because I really do think that the match
How cool would that be when she came back? If she comes back as a heel, you can't beat him, join him kind of thing.
I really do think,
they
though.
Have Mickie James as a legend. Sorry, continue. They just moved her this past weekend from active roster to a Legends role, and it just burns my ass.
I don't know. Apparently, she just started a new podcast with what's her name, Victoria and SoCal Val.
That's probably why WWE is moved her to a Legends position.
But see, going back to it though, like, as much as I love Dakota Kai and as much as I love Tegan Nox, the reason I want that heel team to come back together is that's the heel team that I want to put over Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter.
Yeah, no kidding. And those two eventually getting the women's tag titles would set those belts in the right direction, as we both said.
I mean, we'll just bring all the belts eventually to NXT.
Bring everything to NXT. Universal title, WWE Championship, bring it all.
Hell, with the way the women's division is right now.
Raw and SmackDown tag titles.
With the way the women's division is right now, I would trust NXT to create a mixed tag title.
Yeah,
I think that's another conversation for another day.
Speaking of next, then we have, is time finally up for Damian Priest? The hourglass has run out on the long-awaited return of Karrion Kross. Scarlett's come out, and the Sinister Siren herself has made others, quite uneasy. Now we know that she invited, Kross to meet him face-to-face, and I like the meeting. I like the setup to this match. It should be intriguing, but I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of offense from Damian Priest here. I think it's going to be not a all-out squash, but it's going to be mostly where Karrion Kross is very dominant, because they're building him back up, obviously, to go after the title that he never lost.
See, you're being nicer than me. Like, as much as I appreciate the Damian Priest character, I think he's gonna get his ass handed to him. Like, I think, like...
Oh, you think it's just gonna be an all-out...
Yeah, I think Kross is gonna walk in... I think Kross is gonna walk in there, give him absolutely no fucking quarter. I think you're gonna have the Goldberg-Dolph Ziggler situation. Like, I think it's going to be a squash at, like, comically violent levels.
I would like to see it, because it's not like... I'm not a big Damian Priest fan to begin with. I know some people really like him.
Yeah.
I don't mind him, but I'm not like... He's not high on my list. I really can't figure out why, because he doesn't have... He just kind of bores me, honestly.
Yeah.
And I
am...
specifically what it is that I'm not crazy about.
And you know what? It's been the past 3 or 4 takeovers you and I have gone back and forth on Damian Priest. I am particularly high on him. He's more to liking. Yeah, I will say what I've said the past, 5 pay-per-views that we've previewed. He is still more character than wrestler, but the wrestler is still good. So I'm saying what I'm saying.
He's certainly not on my shit list by any means either. No. It's not like I don't want to watch him. I'm just...
I didn't think he was.
He's not someone that I'm like, damn, I have to see that. Like, if I didn't see his match, but I do want to see Karrion Kross, so this is something that I am interested in. I kind of hope it goes that Goldberg... Dolph Ziggler way.
And I think it's funny though, because I'm the one that is high on him, and I'm the one that thinks he's going to get comically squashed. See, I'm saying he's going to get comically squashed despite my high opinion of him, because I'm sorry, both in actual ability and in the way that obviously NXT sees him, Damian Priest doesn't stand a chance.
Well, that's the thing. You can tell how they've showcased him. He had a very, very, very lackluster run-of-the-mill title reign, which was cut short due to silliness with Leon Ruff. And you can't tell me that's not silliness. I mean, as much as the story was good and all that, but it was still a bad way for him to lose the belt and everything that happened. And just the whole scenario was a bit ridiculous. And they treated Priest pretty bad. If you look at it, well, he won the title. Yeah, but if you look at everything else, he doesn't look good walking away right now.
No.
He's not in a good spot. And a win here would be crucial for him, but there's no chance in him beating, Cross, I say.
See, the Leon Ruff thing is hard right now because I
liked it.
I like Leon Ruff, right?
Leon Ruff, but
because
I just know it didn't do anything for Damian Priest, and I think if I was higher on him, then I would not be so joyous of the angle.
Yeah, but you know what? There are some times that even seeing somebody you like get squashed is fun. If you know it's going to be an absolute
that happen. Yeah.
Abolishment or whatever you want to say. Like before we realized that Ryback was an absolute nut job, watching him just come down and randomly destroy somebody out of nowhere was fun, right? Like with this though,
like when Goldberg squashed Kevin Owens, we knew it was leading towards two things: Goldberg and Brock, and we knew that Kevin Owens was going to face Jericho, and we had been waiting for that breakup to happen. So that was okay, because we were waiting for the payoff for that. But with this, him getting squashed quick, it's like, what's the payoff? We already know that Priest is a loser, and Karrion Kross is already going for the main title. So,
but you know what? Like that also
going for the title.
In what you just said though, like you bringing up the Gargano and Ruff thing and all that sort of thing. By going after a mid-card title, you establish Damian Priest as a mid-card guy. Karrion Kross, we already know, is on his way to the main title. This is just a pit stop.
Yes,
he
he didn't lose it.
Yeah, exactly. This is just a match to remind us who Karrion Kross is. Like, anybody that thinks it's anything else is a little bit delusional. So, but because those things are established, because Kross is here and Priest is here, I'm not offended when a 10 smashes a 5. And that's not a dig on either guy. You can be a really good 5, you can be a really good 10. 10's still going to win.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're not wrong about that.
But I mean, the problem with Ruff, or the problem with Damian Priest, and it has to do with Leon Ruff, is you don't want to disrespect Leon Ruff because the guy is a great talent. Obviously, he's got tons of energy, tons of upside. Like, if they had thrown him directly into the cruiserweight division, he could be given Escobar a run for his money right now. But
absolutely, he serves a great purpose, and not even that he can't be booked as a mid-card champ, but against who he was against, he felt like a fish out of water.
Right, but the
size difference was a hard pill to swallow, and that alone caused some discrepancies, but they made it work. They did. But like you said, had they introduced him differently, it could have been more beneficial.
Right. The problem you run into with Leon Ruff, though, is because they brought him in as, the most underdog ever, you never want to disrespect the guy because he is good, but at the same time, you don't want to be losing to him because what do you mean you lost to Leon Ruff type thing?
Exactly.
And that's
what
Priest
has to have, hanging over his head, and that's one of the things that I'm like, well, did what we get really not, was it worth the payoff?
I mean, Leon Ruff made Johnny Gargano look like heavyweight. And that's hard to do.
He did.
It's funny, you don't even think of it anymore, but, my introduction to Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa was in the Cruiserweight Classic. Would you ever imagine either one of them as cruiserweights?
No, that's for sure.
I mean, Ciampa's obviously, jacked himself up, but, even Gargano, even if he is, I don't know what he weighs, even if he does weigh, 204.5, if they ever put him in a cruiserweight title match, I'm going to shoot somebody. Because he's been to the peak, right?
Yeah, exactly. Been to the mountaintop.
And it's funny, we talked about at the beginning of this pod, what's the Way going to do? Because they're not even technically on the show, as far as we know. But how many other
they'll be involved?
But how many other things that we've talked about throughout this podcast have come back around to Gargano, or at least somebody in that group?
Yeah, some way, shape, or form, it all comes back to that.
I see what you did there. What you did there. So Damian Priest is going to need a priest, and he might be put on the cross. Double puns for the win. You know who else might need a priest after this is either Finn Balor or Kyle O'Reilly or both.
Well, they'll both need a surgeon or two for sure, it seems like. The
Christ.
Rematch of all rematches, coming from the last time they faced, obviously, excellent outing from these two. Finn Balor retained, Can Finn Balor do it again? I'm going to say yes, Finn retains here, but again, Kyle's going to look like $1 million and comes so close to winning. And the only reason I think Kyle doesn't win here and there is because they're going to have eventually, I think, a triple threat of Kyle, Balor, and Cross.
I could see that, but I don't want it to, because obviously they think highly of Finn Balor. Obviously they thought highly of Cross when he came in, because look how much they gave him right away. I don't want Kyle O'Reilly to be the guy in that triple threat match that's just there to eat the pin.
I don't think
because he's done so much.
He will be.
No, but you know what I mean though.
It would
like
be viewed that way though, yeah.
You know when we had who was it? When it was like Becky and Charlotte, and then they threw Asuka in there out of nowhere last year, and we all knew it was so that Asuka could eat the pin. And everybody's like, what the fuck? Why would you make her just a sacrificial lamb character when she's done all this? Like, after all Kyle O'Reilly has done, especially after the last match that they had, for him to be only inserted into that triple threat match to be the guy that gets kicked in.
But I wouldn't have him be the one pinned.
No, neither would I, but I think that's what WWE might do.
I would have him in there now just to defy expectations, just to go against what everybody thinks. I think that would be excellent. As a match for those three, could be good. But no matter what, we're obviously building towards Balor against Cross because they're who's the rightful champion. That's what the story is.
I do think you could tell a really interesting story because even if Cole and Strong won the Dusty Classic and say the two of them went and got the tag titles off the back of that, if you've got a situation where Cole is just one of the tag champions and Kyle O'Reilly is the champion in the Undisputed Era, like, what kind of switch of roles would that be? And would they either, like, do it, and Kyle O'Reilly just runs the group, or have Cole still run it, even though Kyle's the one that's the singles champion? I don't want to say everything comes back to how are they going to break up the Undisputed Era, because I don't think they need to.
I don't think they need to. And
there's so many intriguing things.
Why don't they just do what they did with the New Day and not break them up in the sense of, like, they don't need to be dissolved. We could see the New Day always get back together. I mean, the New Day is still the New Day, but if they were going to keep re-dragging together, just call them the Undisputed Era and then just let everybody else, go on their own way or something.
Yeah.
If they're all going to go their own way, that's a different story then, but I wouldn't break them up.
And see, speaking from a strictly Spotlight point of view, if they do split up or if they do all go their own ways or if they stay together but do their own things, the one I'm still worried about in that situation is Bobby Fish. Not to say that the guy's not a great, talented guy, but he's gotten the least spotlight out of the four of them. Every single one of them has had some sort of singles spotlight at some point, and he's always been like either the guy that's injured or the guy that's half a team or the guy that's 1/4 of the team. I don't think he's ever had like a singles story. So I think he becomes the cast-off if you break the group up. So he needs the group to stay together. The other ones could all separate. Like Adam Cole could go off on his own, and nobody questions that. Roderick Strong, maybe he goes back to the mid-card. Kyle O'Reilly, obviously enough people are behind him, and the feedback that he got when he went for the title the first time. Bobby Fish is the one that falls off the cliff if the group breaks up. I might be alone in that. I might be alone in that thought, but.
Yeah, because Roderick Strong's been on his own before, as you said. Cole, we know, is standing strong and obviously the stand out.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
My worry as
O'Reilly's
well.
already proven himself.
My worry as well is if they split up the Undisputed Era, they take Roderick Strong and turn him into the Roderick Strong that I didn't give a shit about before he joined the Undisputed Era.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Fish is 44.
Is he really?
Yeah, I knew he was older. Roderick Strong's only 37. Adam Cole's 31. Kyle O'Reilly's young too. He's 33. So I knew Fish was the oldest. That's why I said he's the old man. So that's why he's kind of the outlier.
I was gonna say he's sort of the elder statesman of the group.
He's another one that's been wrestling since like 2002.
He's the Trent Seven of their group.
He trained under friggin' Harley Race. So
fuck me. I did not know that. No, I just...
Yeah, he used to go under the name Jerk Jackson and Madden Fisher.
Jerk Jackson.
And then, like in 2004, he became, I think it was, Bobby Fish in Ring of Honor. So
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Little bits of information that I didn't know. Again, anybody that's listening, if you're going to get yourself a co-host, get yourself a co-host that's a walking encyclopedia. No, but see, the thing is, like, I worry about him full stop, but I worry about, like, for my own entertainment value, I worry about them turning, like, Roderick Strong back into pure, like, milquetoast, babyface Roderick Strong, because that was cringe. Like, before he joined Undisputed Era, I would be having the same conversation with you right now that I have about, like, a Thatcher or, back when they were in NXT, like, the Forgotten Sons. Like, I know they're good at what they do, but I just don't give a shit. I knew when he was doing the pure babyface, like, I'm just going to stand up for my family because Robert Roode, disrespected my family. I could not care less, dude. You sound like such a dweeb.
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
Oh man, I don't know. I'm basically O'Reilly and Cole come out on top if that group breaks up and the other two fall. You got 2 HBKs and 2 Janettis, and I hate saying that because I know how disrespectful that is. But goddamn. But yeah, let's talk about the other guy in this match, fucking Finn Balor, man. Let's hope his jaw's
been on a hell of a streak since coming back to NXT. He found life again. He found purpose.
He found his jaw on the floor.
To go back to work. He's passionate. He gives a damn. It's just working well, and that's really all there is to it.
And see, like what I said I was considering it before, and I'm saying it more definitely now. He's better now than he was in his first NXT run. Like, I don't have any, like, he's more intense. He's got more layers to him. Like, he's not quite fully a heel. He's just kind of an asshole that's going to tell you how it is. And I like that because that means you can, at a pinch, you can still throw him in there with a heel and have a good dynamic.
Exactly. No matter what you need.
Whereas, like, other than when he was the Demon, and then the Demon isn't face or heel, the Demon's just the Demon. But, like, he was, he wasn't smiley, toothy, like, raw babyface, but he was still babyface in his first run on NXT, and he's clearly so much better as a heel. I wish this was his first run. Like,
yeah, I know.
I think he's got more of an appreciation, because he's like, at least I'm not on fucking Raw. But, it's so good. And as much as I'm a fan of Balor, I just really want to see what happens if they go the Kyle O'Reilly route. So, against logic, I'm going to say Kyle O'Reilly on this. And, yeah.
That's a big prediction.
It's a big prediction, and that's it. We've done it. We were doing it with a little bit of a time constraint tonight, and we made it with 5 minutes to spare.
We did great, and a hell of a podcast. A lot of tangents thrown in there too, and I love it.
Love a good tangent.
Always a good time.
Love a good tangent. We should say right now, if they give us the full bracket, like the entire 8 teams for the Dusty Classic,
everything all at once. Usually it's 8 teams, but it's been larger before too, so we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that I don't want to do it based on like half a bracket.
Yeah,
if they give us if they give us a full bracket on Wednesday night. For the Dusty Classic, Jake and I will be back Thursday/Friday to break down the bracket. If not, we will probably try to crank out part 3 of the women's breakdown. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
That would be ideal.
I mean, we got. I told you offline.
Piece of the puzzle.
I told you offline. We got a lot of NXT conversational content coming in the next couple of weeks. So
a lot of ideas. A lot of
ideas. A lot of, hey, why don't we steal this person from this company or this person from that company? It's going to be good. Anyways, with a whole 4 minutes to spare, Jake, why don't you tell them where to find you, buddy?
You can find me on Twitter at CountdownEnded, or you can go ahead and check me out as Joe Cronin's co-host after every Raw, AEW, or SmackDown sometimes goes live, or WWE pay-per-views, AEW pay-per-views, you name it, wrestling, we cover it. Eventually, we're going to do something for covering both nights of New Japan, I believe, as well. So catch me there, or on my YouTube channel. It's at Countdown Ended as well.
Do you have any?
Make sure everybody hits the like button as well, and subscribe down below for all the times I join Spaz. He's got tons of fantastic content on here, and it's not just NXT, obviously. He covers AEW from time to time, and then he also does some non-wrestling things on here as well. You cover movies and talk a little bit of pop culture, so make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, join the live streams, hit the like button while you're at it. It's definitely worth it. You're making a good decision.
I appreciate you, buddy. The one thing I was going to ask you before you go, do you have another Extra Life thing coming up anytime soon?
No, I think that's all set for now. I believe we'll do another one probably mid-year, but I want to look into some other stuff in between and try that out. So we'll see.
All right, so you'll let us know next time you hop on, and we'll go from there. And all that ramble aside, you know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, me and Super Sexy Jake DeMarco are tagging out. Bye, guys.